Is it true you changed the flavor of the guacamole?
No, I didn't change it. No, the recipe was already there when I got there, and it was a great recipe. Although there's a little funny story that maybe you're alluding to. We had someone knock off the Chipotle concept. The guy said, no, I got it off the internet. The best leaders are the people who most effectively give their power away. The worst leaders are the ones who most effectively keep power to themselves.
Welcome to the Digital Social Hour podcast. I'm your host, Sean Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Charlie Cavalier, and our guest today, Monty Moran. How's it going, man?
Good to be here. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Can't complain. You flew here on the jet?
Well, I've got a single engine turboprop, so it's a jet engine but with a propeller.
Okay.
So it's not like, the snapping suspender twin engine jet, it's.
How many does it seat?
Six seater.
Nice.
But it's super fast. It flies at 31,000 feet and
Whoa.
330 knots, which is about 380 miles an hour.
Wow.
So it's quick.
And you said you went to Maine earlier. You were in Europe flying it.
Yeah, well, I bought this one recently from the factory in France, and I flew it back from France. I flew northern Switzerland, and then Iceland, Greenland,
Wow.
and then skipped Canada, landed in Bangor, Maine, and then over to Colorado the next day.
So you literally flew to France and then bought it and flew it back?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, technically, I didn't own it till we got here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I had to fly it over here, and then we closed on it here. So it was cool.
When you want to fly somewhere, you have to contact the other airport, right? And let them know you're coming?
Actually, oddly enough, you don't.
Oh, really?
You can just get, if you want, you can just get in and go. But if you're flying, there's two ways of flying: VFR and IFR. So VFR is visual flight rules, and there's IFR, which is instrument rules. So if you want to fly in clouds or above 18,000 feet, you got to be on an instrument flight plan. And in that case, yes, you have to say, I'm going from here to that airport, and then air traffic control tells you where to fly, and you're on with them the whole time doing what they say.
Right. Those are like commercial.
They'll let you vary. If you say, hey, look, I got a big thunderstorm, let me go around it, they'll say, sure.
Okay.
So it's very reasonable. It's
Those
cool.
are like the commercial flights, right?
Well, or even my flight, I'm flying IFR almost all the time in my plane because I don't want to be below 18,000 feet because you go way slower and burn tons more fuel.
Wow.
And my plane burns a lot. It burns 60 gallons an hour. The jets, the twin engine jets, like even the small ones, they're burning 3, 4, 5, 6 times that.
Jeez.
A lot.
It's a lot of
jets
gas.
burn a lot of fuel.
So the airline industry must be low margin then.
It's usually historically been extremely low margin.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. I think that they're really, really tight because there's so much competition, right?
Right. Because especially Spirit, you could fly to Cali from here for like $30.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely losing money on that seat. There's no way they're not losing money on that
30% chance you die also.
Yeah, right. But that means 70% you're totally fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I want to dive into your story. I know we got into flying right off the bat, but
sure.
I'd love to hear your story from start to where you're at now.
Oh gosh, that's too. I mean, I'd be a minute. Don't let me.
SparkNotes summary.
Where's that?
SparkNotes summary.
Spark?
Have you heard of SparkNotes?
No. Oh, is that like a super? Like
Yeah, we had SparkNotes and Cliff Notes
They
in
were
college.
Cliff Notes when I was in college.
Cliff
So that
Notes,
shows how
okay.
old I
Same
am,
thing.
right? Like they were actually red, stuff like that. No, I grew up born in Newport, Rhode Island, but moved to Colorado when I was pretty young, and grew up in Boulder, Colorado. Went to school, even went to CU, so I went all the way through college in Boulder, Colorado. Then moved out to LA for 10 years. Lived out there. Was an insurance adjuster for a few years. Got into surfing. Ended up going to law school out there at Pepperdine. Became a lawyer in LA, sort of LA law thing for a few years, and then moved back to Colorado to have kids. I figured it'd be a good place to raise kids, and since I'd grown up there, and it was kind of a nice place. So moved back to Colorado, joined a firm there, had 3 kids who are now most grown ups. My daughter's 18. She's about to flee the coop, but my boys are 25 and 23. So yeah, 3 kids, had all them in Boulder, raised them in Boulder, and became a lawyer at a law firm in Denver for about 10 years, became CEO of that law firm. Most of that time I was running the law firm. And then, long story short, made the jump over to Chipotle as president and COO, and then became co-CEO of Chipotle pretty quick. And I spent a little over 12 years there.
Wow.
At Chipotle. So there's the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start.
Chipotle?
That's a big, Chipotle, right? That's a big change from law firm to Chipotle. What caused that change?
Well, yeah, so I did, as a lawyer, I was a trial lawyer, so I was doing mostly litigation, but I also did some transactional work, like contracts, real estate, that kind of stuff. But most of what I did was representing folks who are either in partnership disputes or corporate litigation, real estate litigation. Did all very broad practice. Did a whole bunch of stuff, but basically was a courtroom lawyer, trial lawyer. So I loved that. It was really fun. I mean, it's, super stressful. The things that I loved about it were exactly the same things I hated about it, right? Like super high stress, but super high excitement, right? Super hard work, but, payoffs and feeling great about winning a case. And it's like big highs, I wouldn't say big lows, but hard, super stressful. But anyway, I love being a lawyer. I started getting a number of clients that asked me to become like general counsel, like, hey, can you help us with this and help us with that? And I'm like, those things aren't legal and you're paying me as a lawyer. And they're like, I don't care. You're good at this. Help us. So my practice basically started to become more broad than really a lawyer would normally be. I started handling, advise. I started interviewing people for some of my clients for jobs, to see if I thought they'd be good, because people found that I was pretty thorough at kind of vetting people. Anyway, so at Chipotle, I kind of took on more and more of a role. They asked me to get involved in the leadership team, which is kind of the heads of all the departments. They asked me to come be at all the board meetings. I started doing all the notes, like as the secretary of the company, even though there was another guy who was officially the secretary. I would take the notes and help him produce them. Anyway, so eventually the founder of Chipotle asked me to come on board and run the company. And I said no for 4.5 years because I said, no, I'm a lawyer, I'm not a food guy, I've always been a food guy. I mean, I worked at Dairy Queen when I was 15, and I worked at restaurants, and I love food and I love to cook, and I'm really, really into food. But I hadn't had, other than Dairy Queen and being a waiter, I was like, hey, I'm a lawyer. But after about 4.5 years, he said something to me that really challenged me. He said, Monty, what a lawyer is what you do, but a leader is who you are. Because he had come into the law firm and he had seen that we built a really great culture at that law firm. I mean, we had the hardest working law firm, but people were so really stoked. It's kind of a long story actually, but basically it was a culture of all top performing lawyers who were super, super empowered, who were really into what they were doing. It was like a love festival, but also a really hardworking love festival. So we were super profitable, but also having a great time. And we all the lawyers wanted to work for us. The firm was just really going off, and I had been made the CEO of the firm. So he said, hey man, how'd you make this culture? This is awesome. Like, I want Chipotle to be like this. Can you come to Chipotle and do it? And I'm like, nah. But after 4.5 years, he said, yeah, you may be a lawyer is what you're doing, but a leader is who you are. How about come to Chipotle and you can affect a lot more lives and build a culture that's going to affect a lot more people? And I said, and eventually I said, okay, you know what? I'll try it. So I made the jump over and became president and COO initially. Wow. And then shortly thereafter, CEO of Chipotle. Yeah.
Incredible. I want to dive into the culture part because a lot of people struggle with building culture. It's actually really hard to pull off. So
yeah,
what's some advice you could give for leaders looking to build better culture?
Well, I mean, to be really blunt, and I'm only this blunt now. I probably wouldn't have been as blunt back when I was CEO, but you need to love the people you need to love the people you lead. Okay. And so that sounds so groovy, right? But love is actually substantive. It has edge. It's tough. It's like, so what do I mean by love? Well, what I mean is of the people you lead, you got to get to know them. You got to care about them. I don't mean care about them just for what they're doing for you. Care about them, period. Like as a human being. So you have to get to know them. You have to care about them. You have to come to understand them. You have to understand what they want for themselves as their personal vision in life. Forget you. What do they want? What's going to make them happy? What are their dreams that they that they want to achieve? And you get to know that, right? And then what you do is you work with them to give them a vision that is something they want to do, but that also will advance your cause. So you're working, it's kind of like a meeting of the minds, right? The only source of a leader's power is that somebody chooses to follow that leader. Okay, there's a huge difference between management and leadership. To me, management and leadership while both are methods by which to try to, get something done in a company, one's terrible and one's great. Okay, management is about manipulation. At the end of the day, what management is really about is manipulating people. My definition of management is trying to get people to do what you want them to do. Getting someone to do what you want them to do. You do it by carrots and sticks and performance reviews, threatening to fire them or saying, hey, I'll give you more money if you do better. Hey, bonuses, hey, you got to hit this metric, and contests and competitions to try to get people to motivate, right? To motivate them. But leadership isn't about getting someone to do what you want them to do. Leadership's about getting someone to do something that they want to do, which also furthers your mission. So for instance, at Chipotle, when I wanted to create a great culture at Chipotle, initially the company's, our sort of vision statement was, to change the way people think about and eat fast food, which is really cool. Like, I understood that. That sounded cool. As a CEO, I understood that. But as someone coming in at, back then, sort of a few bucks over minimum wage maybe, do they really think they can come in and change the way people think about and eat fast? Is that something they even understand? Is that something they care about on day one? Well, probably not. But if I tell them, hey, if you come to Chipotle, you're going to be a future leader of this company. We're going to teach you how to lead, not manage. We're going to help you become a part of a team of all top performers who are empowered to achieve really high standards. You're going to learn to run a multi-million-dollar business. We want you to be the future of the company. We're not just bringing you in for the hourly position, but we want you to be a future manager. And the only reason we're hiring you, we're not hiring you just to come in here and schlep around at $10 an hour forever. Or now, I suppose you'd say 15, 16 bucks an hour these days, right? We're not hiring you just to come in and be a worker. We're hiring you as a future leader. We want you to come help us grow this company, by which we're trying to do some really important things in this world. So when people saw that, they were like, wow, cool. And so basically what you're showing someone is, you know them, like even at the interview stage, you're interviewing someone, like they can tell the difference whether you actually care about them as a person, or whether you just want them to come in and do something for you. A huge difference, right? So you come in and say to someone, look, man, hey, I'm really glad you're here. Tell me about you. What's going on? And you just get to know them, and they know, hey, this person really wants to get to know me. So you get to know someone, you come to understand them, you bring vulnerability to the conversation. These are the ways that you empower a person. So I've got a definition of empowerment that I'm really proud of, actually. It took me a while to write this back in the day when I was trying to when I was trying to institutionalize this kind of leadership at Chipotle for the 75,000 people who worked for us there. Okay. So empowerment means feeling confident in your ability and encouraged by your circumstances such that you feel motivated and at liberty to fully devote your talents to a purpose. So let's just dissect that for a second. First of all, it's a feeling. That's the first word. Feeling confident in your ability. So just like love, empowerment's a feeling. You can't give someone empowerment by saying, you're empowered. Hey, you're empowered now. It's like, that doesn't make any difference. It's like me saying, hey, love me me right now. It's like, you're gonna be like, okay, whatever, dude. What do you mean? Right? So if you want someone to love you, what do? You behave, right, in a way that causes you to deserve their love, right? Well, likewise, if you want to empower someone, what do? You create an environment in which they will become empowered, where they will have that feeling. What is that environment? One where they're confident in their ability, and that part's the part that almost everyone spends all their time on, and it's the easiest part, and it's the least important, but it's still important. Confident in their ability just means training. They know what they're doing. They got the tools to do it. They can be successful. Confident in your ability, okay? The first time you did this podcast, you probably weren't that confident in your ability. No. You're probably a little shaky. Is this right? And people are going to think I'm a dork, right? There's nervousness. Yeah. But after a while, you're like, hey, I know how to do it. I know where to put the mic. I know how to set it up. People are kind of digging what I'm doing. I'm confident in my ability. But what does it take for you to be encouraged by your circumstances as an employee? Your boss has to give you their attention, know you, care about you, be willing to challenge you, want you to be at your best, and they have to have a vision that you believe in. You have to believe they're going to take you to a better place. Right. So if you're in an environment like that, and what's the place that all of us, hopefully, growing up, had that feeling of empowerment? Hopefully with our parents. Hopefully our parents gave us an environment where we were confident in our ability, but also encouraged, like, hey man, whatever I do, they love me. Whatever I do, they're going to feed me. Whatever I do, they're going to help point me in the right direction. And if I'm, come home at 13 with a glass of scotch in one hand and the joint in the other, they'll probably point me in a different direction. You know what I mean? If they care about me. Now, a lot of parents aren't good parents. Let's be clear about that. Yeah. But the best parents are the parents that teach a child, that cause a child to feel confident in their ability and encouraged by their circumstances, such that child feels motivated and at liberty to fully devote his talents to his life, to grow, to blossom, to be something wonderful. That's what a great parent does. That's exactly what a great CEO does. What a great supervisor does, what a great boss, quote unquote, does. It's the same. It's no different. It's what a great coach does. We were just talking about new coach at CU. Well, what's the goal of that coach? To put a team on the field that's confident in their ability, that's excellent, that has top performers on it, and that feels encouraged by their circumstances such that they want for themselves to go win football games. Not just to win for the coach, but to win for themselves. Because it's their vision. Yeah. You'll fight way harder right now, this is, you guys do this podcast, it's yours, right? It's a little different. It's your vision. You're doing what you want to do. But if you're doing this for a boss right now, and the boss was superb, like a leader, and they gave you a vision, you'd probably feel just as much a sense of ownership over it. But if you did it for a boss who's like, look, do it, get the ratings up, we need more money out of this, you'd kind of be like, that's your vision, dude. That's not what makes me thrive every day. Right. That doesn't light me up. Yeah. To make you money, it's not working for me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it has to be like, as your leader, if I was your leader, I have to find out, what's Sean about? Like, what's his deal? What makes him click? What does he want with his life? Is there something you want badly that you can do along with me that will help both of us achieve something great? Well, that's what we did at Chipotle. We showed the 75,000 people that, hey, this place is going to be a beautiful place for you to grow, to blossom, to develop, and to become the best version of yourself.
Right. That's a lot of people to manage.
Yeah, and it's funny you just said that. It's too many people to manage, because to manage them means to manipulate them, and that's a lot of manipulation. Okay, but it's not too many people to lead. Okay, because leadership's way more powerful. Leadership is about giving away your power, and management is about retaining power.
So you don't like the word manage?
I don't like it at all. But the word doesn't bother me as much. I mean, at Chipotle we had general managers, right? That was the title.
Yeah.
Although, long story, we created the restaurateur program, which was a more prestigious position. But at the same position, but the restaurateur was someone who led instead of managing. So management and leadership. Yeah, I don't like the word management. I don't like. It's not that I don't like the word, right? Like you can say like, hey, I managed to change my tire today. Right. I don't mind the word. Okay. But the word management as used when people say like, hey, you know, I got to manage, you got to manage people well. You got to hold them accountable. I hate that. Hold them accountable. Why would you ever have to hold someone accountable? Why would you have to hold someone accountable? Because they don't want to do it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to. What's your favorite food?
Ooh, ice cream.
Okay. I do not have to hold you accountable to eat a bowl of ice cream.
You have to hold me accountable to not eat a bowl.
Yeah, right. Right. You know, it's like, you know, you get a 10-year-old kid and he's got a birthday cake in front of him and he blows out the candles. You don't have to hold him accountable to eat a piece.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to eat a piece.
Yep.
So why can't you also, in the context of a business, give your people a vision that is sexy and wonderful and exciting such that they want to do it?
Right.
If you can't do that, then you're stuck managing your whole life, which means you're stuck trying to manipulate people.
Wow.
And guess what? Long-term manipulation, it doesn't work.
Nah.
People resent it. It ultimately backfires. It doesn't work.
Wow. So it's about making your employees feel free.
Yes. It's about offering, it's about putting your employees in an environment, in a situation where they want to do something for themselves, which also happens to advance the business. For themselves,
because humans are naturally selfish.
Well, yeah, of course. I don't think selfish is bad, right? Selfish, if you're selfish for the right reasons. I think selfishness is great if you look at it in this context. You know, I think it is in everyone's best interest to be the best person they can to other people. I think if you are selfish and intelligent, you will try to do the best you can for other people in this world. Because I have a saying that I said at Chipotle and I said it at my law firm. And this is my foundational principle for my life. And I think it should be everyone's I think it should be, it's funny. I think it should be everyone's foundational principle for their lives, because I think it's the most important thing for any of us. And that is here's my kind of rule of life. Each of us in this lifetime will be rewarded based on our effectiveness in making the people around us better. Okay? That's what's going to cause you to be rewarded, anyone to be rewarded in a way that really matters. So each of us will be rewarded based on our effectiveness in making the people around us better. And if you look at anyone in the world who's been highly admired over the years, you know, you could pick Jesus or Buddha or Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King or whoever comes to your mind. What are all those people why are they so highly regarded? Because they spent the thrust of their lives, the bulk of their time, trying to do something good for humanity or others. You know, that's what they were primarily occupied with, was the act of making other people better. And guess what? They're heroes, right? You can decide who's a hero or not, but they're very admired people, right? You know? And so that which is most admirable for anyone is to help other people, right? Yeah. And also, it happens to be what makes people wealthy is to help other people. What makes people happy is to help other people. What makes people find contentment in life is to help other people. And there is nothing else that makes you happy in life, in my opinion, not long term. Wow. I mean, the day you buy a Ferrari, you're stoked for a few days, right? Yeah. Cool, I've got a Ferrari. You know, maybe a woman buys a piece of jewelry she loves. It makes her, or a guy for that matter, makes them happy for a few days. But all those little accomplishments, all those things that we do for ourselves, just for ourselves, those are the pleasure we get from that is fleeting. It goes away. It's kind of like climbing Everest even, right? If you're a mountain climber and you wanted to climb Everest and you train for it for 2 years, you go up there and you plant the flag and you're like, yes! But what do you feel 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or at least 20 minutes or 30 minutes beside, well, let's say you get down from Everest. Okay, now you're 2 days later. How do you feel?
Now what?
Now what? That's exactly what you're thinking, because that achievement, even though it's cool, and I'm not knocking it, that's super cool. Like I'm not climbing Everest. I admire someone going up Everest. That's cool, right? I like that. But let's just say, does that cause them to be happy for life? They're just going to glow and bask in that accomplishment for life? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Wow. But if you go do something for someone else by which you help someone else have a better life, there's a lasting glow that comes from that. And when you keep doing that, so that's why I say leaders, the best leaders are the people who most effectively give their power away. The worst leaders are the ones who most effectively keep power to themselves. The best leaders give their power away such that the people around them get better.
Wow.
And as those people around them that get better and rise up and accomplish more and more and more, that they go, this is nice. This reflects, I feel good that I've been able to empower all those people to rise up. And also, guess what happens to those people? I used to always say at Chipotle, if you want to be really successful here, make the people around you better. Because that was our definition of top performer. I gave you the definition of empowerment. My definition of top performer there was a top performer is someone who has the desire and ability to perform excellent work. And through their constant effort to do so, elevates themselves, the people around them, and the company. Okay, so there's this concept of not only, so if you boil it down, it means does great work and makes others better. Two things, does great work, makes others better. So I just let it be known at Chipotle, at my law firm, and anywhere else I work that, hey, if you do something really, really, really well, personally, you're a great doer, that's cool, that's awesome. That means you're a great doer. It doesn't mean you're a top performer. To be a top performer, you have to be a great doer, do great work, but also have a positive influence on those people around you. And if you're at a growing business and you don't do that, then how are you going to grow? How are you going to train new people? And at Chipotle, we needed to train hundreds of thousands a year of new people.
Right.
We needed to bring them in and train them and move them into management positions.
Yeah, you're constantly dealing with new people. One of the skills you developed was reading body language and nonverbal cues.
Big time, yeah.
What can you learn about someone from that?
So much. Communication to me, when people think of communication, they usually think of the spoken word, right? Like someone's listening to the podcast and we're speaking and they're hearing it, and that's the communication, right? But the reality is, to me, I think if you really want to understand somebody, you have to be careful not to listen too carefully to their words. Not to listen too carefully to their words, because words, we are all sociologically designed to be, at least in some regards, a bit deceptive. How are you doing today, Sean? If you're having a crappy day right now, you're going to say, pretty good. Because you're not, it's not socially normal for you to say, actually, I'm having a terrible day, sucks. How are you, though? No, everyone goes, good, how are you? Good, how are you? Good, how are you? Good, how are you? That's what we say, right? No one goes shitty, even unless you're a good friend, maybe.
Yeah.
You might say, I'm shitty, but whatever, But we all learn to deceive with our words in thousands of little ways. But we're not as good at deceiving with our posture, with our pace of speech, with our body language, with our eye contact, with 30 other, I wrote about all this in my first book, but in my towards the very end, the second to last chapter is about communication. So I think if you want to be a really good communicator and really understand someone, do not pay too much attention to the words they're saying.
Wow.
I'll give you an example. So I did like 25,000 interviews of crew people at Chipotle to understand how the leadership was going and to promote or not promote their boss to restaurateur. And so a lot of times I would say, hey, so how is it working with, let's say Bill. Let's say the manager's name is Bill, and I want to find out how effective Bill is in terms of being a leader. Well, how is it working for Bill? A lot of times I'd be like, oh, it's pretty good. Now, if they said it just like that, oh, it's pretty good, I would say, oh, so why didn't you like it? And they'd be like, no, I said it's pretty good. I said, nah, I know that's what you said, but it's not what you meant. You meant that it's just okay. There's something missing. Something you don't like. I'd love to hear about what you don't like. And they'd be like, okay, well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I don't like. And I was never wrong.
Wow.
Because the tone is so much more important. I mean, think about saying, I love you. Let's just say, I want to tell you I love you. Listen to the difference in these two tones, I love you or I love you. I mean, those are hugely different meanings,
right?
Right? Just by tone. Well, so it's just the way it is. The way we speak to people, whether we speak fast or slow, excitedly or not excitedly, those things are conveying so much information. And they are very difficult. It's very difficult to lie with those things. That's why actors and actresses are paid so much money. They learn to bring all of it together, to play a role, right? That's a fictitious role. That's not really who they are, right? You could get an actor, for instance, who's an introvert, but who plays an extrovert very, very well.
Right.
But in order to do that, they can't just say lots of words. They have to have a body tone and to be a great actor or a great actress. I guess that term is passé. Now they're all actors, aren't they? But if you want to be a great actor, you need to be able to match your words with the body language and intonation and pace and so forth that conveys a convincing character. Well, the rest of us who aren't, Academy Award-winning actors, we're pretty easy to understand. And that's why the best poker players in the world are watching people like a hawk. If you go raise you 5,000, right? You're looking all bold. you have to ask, what's that person trying to convey? They're trying to convey they're strong. Why would they try to convey they're strong? If they're that strong, do they really want me to think they're strong? I love poker. I love it. I love it. It's such a wonderful, it's such a wonderful way to understand people better.
You'd probably be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty good poker player. I mean, I've been around some of the best in the world, and so I say it carefully. But yeah, I'm a pretty good player. But if I am a good player, it's because I'm really good at reading people, and I can, and it's based on all those things that are. It certainly isn't based on what they say. Okay, it's like what they say is probably going to be deceptive.
Right.
Although sometimes they'll say something absolutely true with the hope that you'll second guess it and think you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a game. It's funny that way.
Nice.
So much of your guiding philosophy is based around one-on-one relationships, empowering individuals, creating culture. What roadblocks has remote working created to sort of implementing a lot of the things that you firmly believe in?
No, I think a lot. I mean, I feel lucky that wasn't really an issue when I was still, CEO of Chipotle or CEO of my law firm. I think it's really tough, and a lot of people are coming to me, just in my consulting capacity and saying, "Hey, what can we do?" And I think the answer is you actually have to get out and get with people. Like I say, if you just listen to someone's words, now a Zoom call is a little better because you get to see some, right? You get to see their face and you get to hear their tone, and there's a little more you can pick up. But also, just being in person, there's just a million things. I mean, there's literally just so many little micro bits of information that are being transmitted that might cause me to be able to say in person to you, "Hey, Sean, are you okay? It seems like something's bothering you today." Now, what's really cool about this is, let's say I don't even know you that well, which I don't know you that well. I met you today. Okay, but let's say that I got the sense you were kind of bummed out when I walked in the door today. I said, "Hey, Sean," and you said, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Good, how are you?" And you said, "Yeah, I'm pretty good." I might say, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Now, in other words, I didn't really listen to what you said because you said you're okay. And I said, are you sure? Seems like something's wrong. Let's say I'm right, that something is wrong. So let's say basically I called your bullshit, right? You tried to say you're okay. I didn't believe you. That's what's really going on, isn't it? Like if I say, "Hey, how you doing, Sean?" And you go, "Pretty good." And I go, "Oh, you're not good. What's wrong?" Even if I've never met you before. Right. Now you might say it's being a bit nosy. It's being a bit bold. But also, isn't it being a bit loving for me to actually give a shit? So what happens is when I challenge someone or overrule their words in favor of what I know they're really saying, it actually is highly complimentary. It shows that I'm going deeper, that I care, that I'm looking, that I want to know what they're really thinking.
Right.
You know what I mean? So again, back to the manager example. "Hey, Charlie, hey, what do you think of your manager, Betsy?" And if you go, she's pretty good. I mean, that answer for sure means you do not think she's very good. Because what it sounds like when you think she's awesome is you'll say, "Oh, Betsy's awesome, man. She's so cool. Like, she brought me in here. She taught me a lot. She helps me." It'll sound like that. And it just will, right? If someone's really making you better, empowering you, cares about you, helping lift you up, wants you to be at your best, is challenging you to be the best version of yourself, it's going to come out, boom, like a cannonball out of your answer. It just will. And I've done it, 25,000 times, and I've seen what great looks like. So if someone goes, and they might even say, "Oh, she's so great. She's great." And I'll be like, "Wow, that tone doesn't sound like she's great at all. So tell me what's not so great." "No, I said she's great." "Yeah, no, you didn't. That's what your words said, but that's not what your body said. So tell me what's going on." So I got this reputation at Chipotle, and I think I have a reputation with everyone who knows me. Don't bother bullshitting me.
Right.
Right? Because I'm going to see through it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as like I'm some great guy. I care a lot about that stuff. I notice stuff like that. I look at body language, intonation, tone. I care about people, and I want to know what's really going on. Like, I'm a total, like with the term, ferreting out. I want to ferret out what's really going on with you, even if I don't know you well. Maybe especially if I don't know you well, because I'll be like, "Hey, wait, there's something with this dude I don't quite understand." I'll be like, "I want to get to know you. I want to understand what makes you tick." It's just that's my passion, is understanding people.
Wow.
So since that's my passion, I dig early, I dig deep, and you might think that's offensive, but actually, most people really like when someone digs, because what does it mean? It means you care.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm curious about you, like if I just go, "Wow, Charlie, good to know you," so then I'm asking you questions about you, it feels like, hey, this guy kind of wants to get to know me. That's flattering.
Yeah.
Right? It just is.
You're taking the time.
Right? Yeah. If someone walks by you on a street and doesn't look you in the eye, if it's just two of you on a street in a small town in America, to walk by each other without looking each other in the eye would be kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
It'd be like an intentional snub. Maybe not in New York with 1,000 people. You just go, "Okay, I can't look at all these people. It's crazy," right? Or in LA, whatever, Chicago. But if you're the only two people in a tumbleweed town, and you're walking 100 yards towards me and 100 towards you, we're going to say like, "Hey, dude. Hey, how you doing? Hey, pretty good," right? Because otherwise, it's offensive.
Yeah.
Right? It's a statement to not look at you, right? It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna look at this guy. Like, I'm really not gonna, you know? And so anyway, that's what turns me on, is really understanding
Yeah.
people and getting to know them. And when you do that, the nice thing about it, it really turns everyone on to get to be known.
Yeah.
Because everyone in this world wants the same thing. Everyone wants to be seen, valued, understood, and loved. Like, everyone wants that. There's no one in the world who doesn't want that. Everyone wants to be seen, valued, understood, and loved. Even some introvert who's home and not wanting to be outside, they really do want to be seen, valued, loved, and understood, but they have fear that maybe makes them not go outside because they don't want to be. What don't they want? They don't want to be rejected, judged, misunderstood, not devalued, right? But everyone wants to be seen, valued, loved, and understood.
Absolutely.
And so, how do you go about that? Well, the answer is people are going about it in 8 billion different ways. Some which are very effective, some which are very ineffective, right? And so, and I think, as a really good leader, I think you want to help people go about that in a way that is effective.
Is it true you changed the flavor of the guacamole?
No, I didn't change it. No, the recipe was already there when I got there, and it was a great recipe. Although there's a little funny story that maybe you're alluding to. We had someone knock off the Chipotle concept.
Yeah.
It was actually here in Vegas.
Oh.
It resulted in a lawsuit. It was a long time ago. But somebody basically knocked off our concept, and so Chipotle filed a lawsuit saying, hey, you stole our trade secrets and so forth, which are like our recipe and stuff. And the guy said, no, I got it off the internet. So we did discovery, and we said, well, show us where you got it off the internet. And he showed us a recipe from the internet. And the recipe from the internet showed that the guacamole contained garlic. Chipotle's guacamole does not contain garlic. In fact, one of the secret ingredients of Chipotle's guacamole, was the absence of garlic. And so the fact that so we went and took their guacamole from their restaurant and put it through sampling, put it through a test to find out what it contained. And guess what? No garlic. So they said, here's the recipe, which contained garlic. And they said, that's how we make our guacamole. And we went and got their guac and said, no, it isn't how you make your guac. So they did have our real recipe.
Wow.
And so that's how we proved that they had stolen it from us. Anyway, it was kind of a funny story.
Wow.
Interesting. What do you think about seed oils? Because Chipotle is one of the first fast food brands to announce they're removing it. Are you a fan of seed oils?
I mean, I don't want to say much about that. I've got opinions about it, but I want to be careful because I don't want to denounce something unless I really, really understand it well. I think there's some thoughts that they're inflammatory, and I think it's probably better to go away from them. But that's my personal opinion. I don't know enough to be, I don't know enough to proclaim something that I would be confident about.
Do you have a diet you stick to then, out of curiosity?
I mean, I have a way that I eat.
Yeah.
The only reason I correct the diet thing is, like if I really want a hot fudge sundae,
Right.
actually, I eat a lot of those.
Me too.
I just pretended that was a occasional thing, and that's a lie. That's just not true. But I tend to not eat grain, really, not much grain at all.
Yeah.
So I eat meat and vegetables.
So you don't eat Chipotle anymore?
Oh no, I do.
Oh, you
Chipotle's, I mean, Chipotle is a good place because you just say no rice.
Oh, no rice.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? Or
Yeah.
get a salad. I tend to get a salad with chicken and peppers and
Right.
sometimes beans, salsa. Chipotle is a great place to not eat grain.
Right.
Yeah.
So you left corporate America in 2016, decided to get your pilot's license, travel the world. Why did you decide to do that? Because that's a big change in lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we had such a great run at Chipotle. It was awesome. It was really fun, and I think there was it's kind of it boils down to like life is short. Kind of wanted to go out and do have some more time. I worked very, very, very hard at Chipotle. It occupied all of my time. I loved that it did. It was really fun. It was almost like on any given day I'd feel like I would do it for free because I loved it. It was great, great, great fun. But when I left, I wrote my book, and I've written another book now, which is coming out on June 6th. And that one's called No One is a Stranger. It took me forever to come up with the title, and finally I read it again, and that sentence was in it. And I said, yeah, that's the title for the book.
Interesting.
And this
title.
No One is a Stranger thing, by the way, gets back to kind of what I was saying about my love for understanding people. I think the most important thing you can do in the world is, connect with people. Yeah. I mean, in terms of your own personal happiness, right? I already said that I think everyone will be rewarded based on their effectiveness in making others better, but how can you make others better without connecting with them? You can't. But if you connect with people really effectively, it's a really satisfying thing because there's a lot of love flowing, right? And so my second book is really about, how to make those connections. I talk about the things that get in the way of those connections. And I talk a lot about, how you live a much more fulfilling life when you get really good at connecting with people and having relationships. And it doesn't have to be even long-term relationships. It can be, that guy walking down the street in the tumbleweed town, walking by for 1 second. You can have a really pleasant, really loving, really deep, lastingly warm interaction in 2 seconds.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Just eye contact?
I mean, have you ever gone to a grocery store, and someone kind of like someone behind the, at the checkout counter sort of said like, "Hey, how you doing?" You said, "Good. Hey, I hope you have a good day." And they kind of meant it.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, "Oh, cool." It kind of felt
Yeah,
good.
that's happened to me actually.
Yeah. Right. Or you've had the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Or some guy's like, "Hey, next." Yeah. Okay. Here you go. Here's your change. You want a receipt? No. Okay. Next. And you kind of feel like, "Ooh, that didn't feel very good." Like
Right.
you might not think it because we're used to it, but I always realize it, like, because I'm looking. It's just it's a passion of mine, right? So I'm always going, oh, I'm always feeling what it feels like. I mean, being with you two guys in the room right now could feel great. It could feel somewhere in the middle. It could feel terrible.
How does
right?
it feel?
It feels good. No, it feels really nice. No, I think it's. I mean, I think of you guys both as like genuine and curious guys, and curiosity is, like I say, it's flattering because it's like you're interested in something I have to say. Cool, I'm glad to talk. But it could be really weird if you were really cold and like really judgmental, or like I'm saying something and you're like over there going, "Oh, God, I don't agree at all."
Right.
It's not even about that you have to agree. It's about, do you respect what I'm saying and are you curious about it? If you disagree in a way where you're curious, like, "Hey, you said something, I'm not sure what you mean. Let me, But if there's curiosity in it, then it feels good.
Right.
If there's judgment, it feels bad. So curiosity is always loving. Curiosity is always loving. That curiosity is loving. Judgment is always not loving, right? And judgment isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're going, "Yeah, I judge that it's going to be a thunderstorm today." I don't mean that. I mean, but judging a human being negatively, right? That's never feels good, And so when I'm kind of famous for asking a lot of questions, but I've never had someone be offended by my questions because I'm only asking them to understand someone better. And that is flattering. Why? If I ask you questions, what have I just done? I've just promoted you to the position of my teacher. At least momentarily, right? Even if I'm walking down the street, I go, "Hey, do you, again, back to the town with just two of us, and I stop you. "Hey, dude, how you doing? My name's Monty." "Oh, my name's Sean." "Cool. Good to meet you. Do you know what the weather is going to be like this afternoon? Because I'm going to be flying out this afternoon. You know what the weather is like? Let's say you happen to have just watched TV and you know the weather. Don't you feel kind of good that you can tell me?
Yeah.
Like, hey, actually, you know what? I just saw it on TV. There's going to be a thunderstorm about 2
feel
hours from
helpful.
now." I mean, you feel helpful.
Yeah.
Right? And so it feels good to you to help me.
Yeah.
It always feels good to help someone. Right? And it also feels good to be helped. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
And these win-wins are available everywhere in the world, every day, between everybody. But people don't realize it. So you have too many people living from ego where they think that they're trying to extract something from someone to give them what they want. Right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, you don't need to do that. You don't need to extract from someone, because what you can instead do is, by asking someone a question, for example, you promote them to the position of being your teacher. You give them an opportunity, like my silly example about the weather, to be of help to me, which feels good to you, and also helps me, which was nice because I needed the help.
Yeah.
Win-win. Boom.
Yeah, I love that.
It could be 10 seconds long, and it could be really feel nice. Hey, I had the neatest, it would sound silly, if you went and told your friend, I had the neatest relationship today for 4 seconds with a guy in the street. But you could just say, like, "God, I had this real quick interaction with someone on the street. It just felt really nice. It was cool." And if you have 6 of those a day, let's just say, 6 of those really nice interactions with someone that go deep, that have some meaning, that have some help or some back and forth or some connection or some need that's fulfilled, that brightens your whole day. It brightens your whole life,
Yeah.
And that's why, I was just giving a speech yesterday to a company, and I was saying how powerful the words "I need you" are. It's the most powerful words in the world for so many reasons. Number one, if I say, "God, Sean, I really need you." First of all, even if you're a dead stranger, you're probably not just going to go, "I don't even know you." You probably won't say that. You probably say like, "Oh, what do you need?" Now, if I say I need $1 million in cash, small unmarked bills, you're going to be like, "Okay, dude, I'm not going to give you that." But if I say, "I just need you to hold this door for a minute because I'm going to move this, cart through," you'd be like, "Oh, cool." Right? You want to help me. Why? Because humans generally are inherently good and want to help one another, and they feel good helping one another. So the words "I need you" say that they promote you again to someone who can help me. Therefore, you're in a superior position to me. As soon as I say "I need you," I've made you my superior.
Right.
That doesn't matter. If I'm CEO and you're a guy who started at my company yesterday, and I say "I need you," I just promoted you to my superior. You are now superior for that moment to the CEO. Okay, that feels good.
Yeah.
Okay, but also, what does it mean for me to say "I need you"? For me to say "I need you" means I've just made myself vulnerable. I've just told you I'm not an impervious dude who has all the answers, who has all the skills, who has all the strength, who can do it all himself. I just said, I don't have all the skill, all the strength. I need you.
Right.
That busts me wide open to be an actual, real human being. That shows that and that vulnerability, okay, allows room for a real connection. It allows room for value, for love to flow between us.
It's powerful.
Yeah, and that love can flow between any two people, anywhere in the world, at any time, if they allow it.
Yeah.
Problem is, most of us don't allow it. What gets in the way of allowing it? Defensiveness.
Defensive
fear,
mechanisms, yeah.
Right? It's like fear. It's like, God, if I become vulnerable to you and I say, God, I really need you might say, oh, piss
Fear
off.
of rejection.
Yeah. Whoa, he just said piss off. Ouch. I put myself out there and he said piss off. That hurts. We've got to risk being hurt to make a connection.
So if you could go back in time and whisper something in your own ear to when you took over at Chipotle, what would it be?
It's going to work.
Okay.
I believed it would work anyway, though. And when I say it would work, I mean this style of leadership that I'm alluding to here, right? Which there's a lot to it. It's all in my book and stuff.
But you could have used some extra reassurance.
I mean, it would have been, there were people who doubted it at the beginning a lot, and those doubts faded quickly as it began to work really, really, really well. But I think, if I had some gray bearded, godly figure who could somehow say on my shoulder, my son, excellent, this will work. Yeah, I would maybe my blood pressure would have gone down 10 points. That wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world.
Monty, it's been a blast, man. You learned a lot. Any closing thoughts where people can find out more about you?
Well, my website is loveisfree.com. I got a book coming out June 6th called No One is a Stranger. The point of that book is really, it's more the soft, gooey philosophical underpinnings of why I led the way I did at Chipotle. So I wrote Love is Free, Guac is Extra. That's about the leadership and exactly how to do it, sort of. And then this book is sort of like how I think and how I think about things like love and God and truth and authenticity and ego and those things. And so, it was really fun to write the second book. And so hopefully people will enjoy that. It's been a pleasure being here with you guys, and I appreciate your interest.
Absolutely. I'll definitely check that book out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Digital Social Hour. I'll see you next time.